The Sentinel is known to be reliable, fearless, disciplined, consistent, courageous, motivated, and skillful.
So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances.
All these qualities start from the mind. Your mind can be your worst enemy or your most powerful weapon.
The world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
Is this the dagger?
Learn how to achieve greatness and tap into the Sentinel mindset.
This episode is brought to you by The Arena. The Arena focuses on helping law enforcement and security professionals achieve their ultimate work experience, curriculum, and fitness goals. Visit thearenatoronto.com.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this amazing day. The weather's beautiful, and I'm so excited today because we have a very special guest on the show. We have today Neil Sutton. Now, who is Neil for those that are listening? He is an editor with the Canadian Security magazine. And Neil manages the content strategy for Annex Business Media Security Group, including print, digital magazines, websites, events, award programs, podcasts, and social media presence. Neil, welcome, and let me shut this phone off. How are you doing today?
It's a pleasure to be here, Constantine. I very much appreciate the invitation. So yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting with you today.
Amazing, man, amazing. Neil, so I guess the very first question that I kind of had, and I've been having for a while, is how did you, this is an industry that it's like a specialty thing, right? How did you fall into this industry, especially bringing your expertise of what you do for the magazine and such?
So I guess I kind of fell into it. So I've been with the publications now for almost 16 years. So it's been quite a long time. So it's been a journey for sure. So I joined in 2007. My background before that has always been journalism. My training is in journalism. I have a master's degree in journalism. Before that, I was working more on the IT side of journalism. So I worked for a publication for 7 years looking strictly at IT issues in like the early 2000s.
Okay.
And then I jumped over to security in 2007. Initially as a role, I was mostly looking after their websites. And then after a few years moved into the editorial side, started looking after the publications. So I look after 3 publications on the security side. So there's the end user publication, which is Canadian Security, SP&T News, which is our dealer installer publication, and Security Quebec, which is our French language publication as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doing this, how many years? 14, is it 15 years?
15 going on 16, yeah.
So doing it for that long so far, do you still enjoy it? Do you still get excited by what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't have stuck around this long if there wasn't sort of, I do find the industry is in constant motion. There's always stuff going on. There's always new technology coming up, new theory, new best practices, new people coming into the industry. So that's what keeps it exciting for me. Is there is always something new to cover and something new to discuss. So that's what's kept my engagement level this high for this long, is because this industry is quite a dynamic place to be.
And it's continuously evolving.
For sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I would say especially in the last 5 to 10 years, you've seen a lot of changes in the industry, mostly for the positive, and it's been a great place to work.
Okay, that's good. And we're going to definitely tap into that in a couple of questions down the road. Let me throw this out to you. When you look at the industry, and I mean, we're going to focus specifically in Canada, because we are going to try to pull if we can see similarities in the U.S., but what fascinates you about, if there's anything at all in the security industry as a whole, what fascinates you from your perspective?
It's probably the people. The technology to me is also fascinating, but the technology doesn't do much without the touch points with the individuals, with the companies that use it, with the end users, how it affects people. So I've met some really fascinating people in the industry, which is what keeps me engaged, whether they're on the end user side or when they're on the product delivery side, installation side. There's some fascinating folks out there that also have diverse backgrounds. Okay. So I'm learning every day, and the technology is changing almost daily. So it's something I have to keep up to date with as well.
Okay, no, that's good. One of the things that I do quite a bit, Neil, is I like to travel across the country, across the world, trying to see different styles of security, protection. Half our business is executive protection. And, that's an area that I find when many people come up here, they're very fascinated by that world. It's almost like the first thing they want to pull into, but it's a specialty skill. So with me going to the US quite a bit and how they work in the security environment or how they look at security in general, and when I see how security here is in Canada, I see differences. And the differences for myself is that it just seems that in the US, if the best way to describe it is that they take it more serious when it comes to the protector right? And I've never really seen that before, other than when I was exposed to it a couple of years ago when I was in a room full of protectors, on just getting some workshops, how they view themselves. And how they view themselves, Neil, is something that we're very passionate about. Our industry is that we are here in this industry to help others, and we're here to protect people and property. Okay, and that's kind of like where the foundation for what we do come from. And I see that's a very big, strong, I guess, similarity in the U.S. For yourself as a whole. When you look at the U.S. and you look at Canada, can you see any differences from your perspective in the sense of like how security is kind of pushed out, or the way maybe something's maybe more advanced when it comes to technology or something of that sort? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, my expertise is definitely the Canadian market. That's our focal point. I mean, I do travel to the U.S. for trade shows and U.S. colleagues, and I do speak to folks that operate in the U.S. as well. I don't know. There are some sort of basic cultural differences that exist, obviously, between Canada and the U.S., and those will affect how people view security and how security is deployed in two different countries. But I don't know. Like, technology-wise, I don't think there's a huge difference. It depends, but I think that the cultural differences between the two countries are what's going to affect how secure, aside from the regulatory and all that, the legal stuff that goes on. But there are different attitudes in the U.S. and Canada, and that like you could almost ask this question better than me. But
Yes.
Working on both sides of the border, you would see the fundamental differences that exist between people's attitudes towards policing and security on both sides of the border as well.
Right.
Yeah.
No, okay, no, look, Liz, that's very good to know that. The thing that I find when I'm talking with people about our industry is how they view security. Now, you talk to many people in all walks of life and all walks of industry. If you ask them, what does security mean to you? They'll be like, oh, it could be my concierge. It could be, they'll use the word bouncer at a club. It could be someone that works in a corporate environment. And sometimes they'll reference things like, it could be like the mall cop, the Paul Blart kind of thing, right? This is where the variation goes. And, when you really look at the essence of what security is, and there is massive importance and value of what the position does. For myself, when I look at that, and I see what we're trying to do, I always look at what's out there. And I'm very impressed by many entities that run tight ships, that they look at the security as a very, very serious piece to an equation. But there's also many other entities in there that look at it as in just security. And I use the word just security. What's your thoughts on that? Like, how should people entering this environment? Your thoughts? What should their mindset be? How should they be looking at something if they want to enter this industry?
It's interesting that you point out sort of like how the industry is viewed, maybe by the general public or somebody who's not sort of all that familiar with the inner workings of the industry. But there has been a transition, I think, from that sort of like guns, gates, and guards view of the industry, very sort of militarized lockdown perspective, to making it more of a sort of customer service industry, more customer friendly, more of an enabler, less of that sort of like restrictive sort of lockdown perspective, and more about becoming part of an organization, helping that organization achieve their goals. One of our columnists said it best recently, where he said, instead of becoming the Department of No, we can become the Department of Yes. We can help you get to where you want to go by understanding the risks. The more you understand the risks, the more you can use that to your advantage. You don't always have to say, no, this is too risky. No, we can't do this. You can say, okay, there are risks here. Maybe we can figure out a way to do this that's safe for everybody. Maybe we can bring in other parts of our organization into this discussion, have a seat at the table, and make security part of a conversation rather than just sort of a sort of black and white yes or no proposition. So just to address the other part of your question, like how should people get involved in the industry? That we could always do the podcast just on that alone, right?
Yeah.
Like, as you know, we recently hosted our Career Expo just a few months ago, and you were there too, so you saw what was going on.
Right.
But the industry is challenged with bringing more and more people into the industry, sort of how to market security as a successful career, which it can be, and it is, but not everybody on the outside knows that. So the industry is starting to do a better job, I think, of saying, hey, we have some great opportunities for you. You might have to start at the entry level, but there's lots of room for you to move up. There's lots of opportunities. There's lots of interesting engagement that can happen within the security industry. You just have to sort of understand a bit more what it's about. And and people do see the quote unquote mall cops and think, oh, that's security. That's all I need to know.
Right.
But it's not. Like guarding is an essential part of the industry, but it's not the only part of the industry. And some of the other aspects of security aren't well known to the general public. But I think through sort of education, associations, information that we're sharing here today and other podcasts and things like that, I think it is changing. We do what we can at the publication to spread the word about how great this industry is, and sort of push the boundaries out. We're in touch with the colleges that offer security programs, police foundations programs. So there's so much more that most people aren't even aware of. But I think it's changing. But it's
and you guys are doing a fantastic job, by the way, with the magazine, which we're going to get into, because you do highlight, for example, one of your features, like the top 10 under 40. Mm-hmm. And, again, just because I have quite a bit of contacts and friends and clients in the industry, I know how lucrative this career can be. But when people are looking at it, again, I think it's more of like, maybe it's a marketing thing or something, but it just to help them understand, this is the road you're walking down to and what your earning can be and what you can bring to the table. I have a good friend of mine who, his whole journey, he wanted to be a cop as many people do, but he chose to go down the road of security, but he's found it to be so rewarding and how much responsibility he has and how much his decisions can impact. When we go to many environments, we'll go to sports coliseums, we'll go to, entities, there's always being, governed by a security presence, right? When we look at the caliber of security coming into the industry, you have a lot of amazing people, quite a bit. But I also found throughout the years that I see people that are in the role that actually are looking at it as just a job. And I hate, just for us as an organization, when I hear someone say, I want to do this just as a job, I hate that personally, because it's like, well, do you realize what this job entails, right? And you're right. I think in the last couple of years, with COVID happening, it did a lot to the industry. And I know many, many, many entities are going through the same struggles, trying to find the right person with the right mindset. I feel part of the issue could also be maybe the standards of getting your license. Okay, just how and by the way, we are trying to, almost lobby, the Solicitor General's office to find out what we can do to help just elevate the standard a bit. What's your thoughts on basically, someone coming into this industry and where their mindset should be, in the sense of like, do I have what it takes to get in, and do I really want to do this, so they can succeed and win?
Yeah, so again, it comes down to an understanding of what security is. Like you'll see the guard in the uniform who's walking in the mall, or is working in a commercial building, or a condo or something like that, and they'll be sitting at a desk, or they'll be like talking to people coming and going. That is sort of that's the frontline aspect of the industry, and it's probably what the public sees the most. It's probably, okay, this is a security guard. And they'll, it's like, that's the starting point. But
right.
What most people don't realize is how much more is possible within the industry.
That's right.
I mean, you can move up within that guarding framework and you can get into management eventually. Or you could sort of shift gears and go work in a more sort of end user role. I've known a lot of people that, like many, many people that started as frontline and then have moved into management roles, either, working for a municipality or a hospital or a retailer, or like guarding is a great way to get that experience, to understand what the profession is about. And then I would say the other thing that most people maybe aren't aware of is how important it is to keep educating yourself and get involved.
I love where you're going right now.
Okay.
Keep going with that.
So
yeah.
There's so many opportunities for people to, like, the security industry is hungry for people who are looking to advance their careers and want to learn more. Like, you can take an association like CNES or ASIS or IHAS. There's so many associations that offer either certification or training or meetups or education or webinars. And we have great relationships with all these associations, and many of their members have been featured in our publication. But there's so many opportunities, and we offer 5 or 6 conferences within our own framework for people to learn more about the industry. And I've stayed in this industry for so long because by and large, people are super friendly. They're very inviting and welcoming, and they're more than willing to share their knowledge with you. Like security might be known as like, oh, it's a lockdown profession. It's very secretive. And while there might be that aspect to it in some ways, most people are pretty open and pretty willing to talk about what they do and share information, because sharing information with people makes everybody that much stronger.
Okay.
So yeah, again, it's sort of like getting that word out and letting people understand what the advantages are in security. I mean, you can move into cybersecurity, and cyber is such an important part of our industry.
Oh yeah.
There's not a piece of technology that sort of isn't impacted by cybersecurity these days.
That's right, and it is the future. Mm-hmm. So this is fantastic because part of what we do in this show is, again, it's dedicated to law enforcement and security. The more you know, the more you can flow and make opportunities for yourself. With that said, right now, let's talk about the magazine. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, how does someone even find this magazine if they want to find out how they can get some information, read more about the industry?
For sure. So our publications are offered for free to people who work inside the industry.
Okay.
So if you're a member of the industry, sign up, and we will mail you a magazine. But more than that, so the websites are updated every day. There's tons of information on there. It's not only news, but we have information about our upcoming conferences. We have columnists. We have regular features. We have our own podcast. So there's our job as a media outlet for the security industry is to get that information out there.
Okay.
And it's completely accessible. It's available free of charge. So we invite anybody, like whether you're a CSO at the top of the heap, or you're only interested, like you're interested in coming into the industry.
Yes.
My job is to disseminate that information and make it as engaging as possible for people.
Amazing.
So that's kind of our mandate.
No, that's amazing, and it's a great service. You have this feature that I know of, and I'm always thinking, man, I wish I was in that mix before I hit 45. Top 10 under 40.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, because I do know there was just some winners that were just recently released, mm-hmm. and I do know some of them, and congratulations to all those that made it. What are qualities that you look for someone to kind of make that? Because someone's listening to this right now that is a seasoned security vet. They may be on the path of doing some very, very incredible work that is impacting people, impacting organizations, impacting teams, the whole 9 yards. What are some key things that you think someone should possess to kind of potentially be listed as a top 10?
For sure, yeah. We encourage people under 40 across the country working in the security industry to nominate, or somebody who knows these people, to nominate them so that we bring them to our attention. We're launching another one for our other publication, SP&T News. I'm not sure when this will air, but it's launching in the next couple of days. So by the time
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So by the time people hear this for SP&T News, which is our dealer installer product magazine.
What does it stand for, SP&T?
Security Products and Technology News.
Okay, and it's specifically catered to all to do with product technologies,
yes.
cameras, all that jazz.
Yes. So it's that side of the industry. It's the integration product side of the industry. So we just did one for Canadian security, which you're referencing, and then we have another one coming for SP&T. But what we're looking for is people who are engaged, people who love the industry and are doing great work. And it doesn't have to be somebody who's like a senior VP. Many of our winners are senior level, but it's also entry level. Like maybe you've been we had one winner who's been in the industry, I think, since 2020. So just a couple of years.
Yeah.
But that's all it takes. Like all you have to do is sort of demonstrate your passion for the industry and your passion for engagement and learning. It's great if people have won other awards and things like that, but it's not necessary. Like we're looking for people who are helping to transform the security industry.
Oh, I love that. I'll tell you this right now. This is incredible. Okay, and I think people need to hear this. We always challenge our people, Neil, to level their thinking up and saying, when you come in, don't settle to be average, okay? Settle to get the best, evolve every day, elevate your mindset, look at everything in a competitive landscape. Because at the end of the day, if you put these metrics in place for yourself, you're only going to output better and better and better. And the thing that I love about this, you said people get to vote, right? So when someone's name is submitted, people get to vote, I'm assuming, in the process to kind of get that name up?
It's selected by by our staff.
Yes.
But we look at every single one of the nominations and it's a competitive process, right? But the hallmarks we're looking for are people who have that level of engagement.
Yes.
So like some of the hallmarks are people who either have been mentored or are mentoring others. Those are like mentorship is extremely important part of this process, and it's a very common element of the people that end up on that top 10 list is they'll reference their mentors, like this person helped me.
Let's just freeze on that word mentorship
Sure.
right now. Tell me how important it is for someone to mentor another person in this industry.
For sure. I mean, if you're just coming into this industry, there are sort of programs that will get you on a path to a mentor. But there's also, likewise, there's so many people at a senior level who are willing to mentor others because they know how important it is, because they were probably mentored as they were coming up through the ranks as well. So if you can find that person who can show you the ropes, and it's not just about sort of like this is how security works and this is how you do it. It's more about how can I support you in your journey as you want to advance in your career.
I'm hearing servant leadership here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
So there's lots of opportunity to engage with folks who are more than willing to share their time and their expertise and their support, and just say, I'm here for you if you need to, go for coffee and share your concerns with me, or, are you looking for advice? Is there a situation that happened to you recently that I can help you with in some way? And likewise, there's lots of folks at the senior end of the spectrum who are looking to mentor people, who are saying, we need to keep this industry engagement level high. I'm willing to share my expertise with folks who are newer to the industry. There's a lot of give and take. And what a lot of mentors will turn around and say to me is like, I learned a lot just by mentoring somebody else. Like somebody who with less experience than me has taught me things that I wouldn't have known otherwise if I hadn't become their mentor.
It's also gratifying work just to see someone's life change
For sure.
on your wisdom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you can make a difference in somebody's life, if you can help
So
them advance
rewarding.
in their career, it's such a positive step that both people can take. Like you can gain wisdom on both sides of that fence.
That really resonates with myself in our organization. I mean, mentorship is a word, coaching is another word for it. We always tell our people, look at us as you can come in, call us at any time in your career, at any time with your time with us. If you feel you are lacking something, speak with us. Because at the end of the day, it's the only way you can get someone to move up is by teaching and pouring into them. So I love that. We just recently had the winners. They come out once a year?
Yeah, it's an annual thing, yeah.
Okay, perfect. This is great for anyone listening. If you're looking at making that list and you're under 40 and you're aspiring to make a difference, go down that journey. Neil, thank you for sharing that. Now, one of my biggest passions, Neil, is that I've said this, I'm very vocal about this on the show, is uniting the industries. Okay, and when I say the industry of security, uniting the operators in the industry. I feel there's, like any industry, a lot of times they had this competitive edge, and that's fine. But imagine a world where everyone's working together for the greater good, right? And that is my heart, that is my passion. This is why, for myself, it doesn't matter what show we're at, whether it's a show that you guys produce, or I'm always saying, let's get them on our show and give them a voice, because at the end of the day, we're all doing this to move forward. What would you say we can all do collectively as a security body to strengthen our quality, our presence, our image? What do you think we could do based on what you see?
Sure. So it is a very competitive industry, and people are competing for contracts, and that's just an essential part of doing business. But I have seen, you see competitors at the same table at association meetings. You see colleagues from two different companies that will have a conversation and are sharing information. But there is that aspect to the industry where it can be very competitive, but it doesn't negate the fact that there's also a lot of cooperation that goes on. There's a lot of, everybody has the same issues, the same problems, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of them are willing to share those in a different environment. I do find the associations are a great way, sort of almost like a leveler, right? Because everybody's the same way. Like, if you go into a conference room and they have a speaker, like the audience, it's a total leveler, right? Everybody is the same. Everybody's there to learn. Everybody's there for their key takeaways. So I have seen at associations, people who might be competitors on the outside, very friendly on the inside. And there is a fair amount of mobility in this industry. So
Yeah.
somebody, working for one company might be working for another company
That's
in
right.
a couple of years. So it's always a good idea
Yeah.
to
I mean,
maintain,
as big as the industry is, it's also small.
yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
It is small. Like everybody knows everybody, right?
Right.
So I do think that once the badges come off the sleeves, people are basically the same, and they are willing to work together and share their thought process and share their problems. But it's almost like a weird false dichotomy where you've got sort of like, yes, they are competitors, but they're also in the same industry, and everybody wants the same thing, right?
Yeah.
The ultimate goals of the industry are to they're to protect people, assets, and property, right?
Yes.
And as long as that's happening, that's the main goal.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's good, man. I love that. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the security direction or growth as we're 2023. I mean, to say 2023 right now and where we're moving into the
Yeah.
world, and technology's advancing. We have this new thing, which is not really new, but for those that are listening, ChatGPT. I've gone through some conversations and talks, Neil, where and there's some good ones we can talk offline afterwards. I think that it's something that is going to change a lot of industries.
Yes.
And I feel that the security industry is going to get it's going to get affected, whether it's good or bad. It's yet to be determined right now. I
Right.
do see a lot of good happening.
Yeah.
What is your thoughts on the future of security when it comes to things like ChatGPT getting introduced?
So AI in the security industry, I mean, it's been around for a number of years. Like when people talk about AI, they're talking about machine learning in some ways. They're talking about automating processes. On the surveillance side, on the monitoring side, you see that quite a lot. Sort of like taking some of those mundane tasks out of the hands of the operator and giving them to a machine intelligence. Mm-hmm. So it's been sort of a progress through the industry for a number of years. And I've taken quite a keen interest in it. Just because I'm just interested in that kind of technology.
Right.
But you see the analytics getting better and better and better. And it's like maybe like 10 years ago, people were advertising, we could do this and we could do that. But we've come so much further now. I mean, I was just at ISC West in Las Vegas a few weeks ago, and some of the technology they have on the floor, it's kind of mind-blowing at
Really?
this point. Yeah. So I do think there's still a long way to go, but the technology is advancing to such a degree that it is changing the way that we do security.
Yes.
Like, it's changing the way, like, you're always going to have an operator involved in the process, but some of that sort of low-level decision-making is being sort of almost taken out of the human loop, right?
It's pretty scary if you think about it. For example, you can go right now to any grocery store, for the majority, a well-known grocery store, and they have like the self-checkouts, right?
Yep.
I'm always thinking you have all these like robotics and AI and all this. Are we coming closer to a time frame where some security positions will be actually created by robots or AI? It seems to me like we're heading down that road.
I think it's inevitable that some of these roles will change to such a degree where AI almost takes over, robotics almost takes over. I do think it's kind of early days in some of this stuff.
Right.
Same with, the drone technology. People have been talking about this stuff for more than a decade, but when you'll see the robots in the mall or what, it's, those days will come. I'm sure of it. And you like it is deployed in pockets here and there, and I hear about robots in warehouses and things like that.
Right.
And the robot dogs and all that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
Boston
like,
technology.
it's like it almost looks like science fiction, but it's not. It's pretty well here, right?
Right.
So as people are coming into the industry, you have to be aware of the fact that technology is changing it quite rapidly. And that's one of the importance of education and staying on top of things. It is difficult because there's just so much to learn.
So that's a key thing, because you said earlier that you don't stop learning, keep growing, keep learning.
Yeah.
That's imperative. I mean, I was challenged by my wife years ago, and she says to me, like, I understand you're doing this and this and this, but how are you evolving? How are you moving? And the reality is this: like, my mom's still stuck on VCR mode, right? And that's the truth. And the reality is that world is left, right? If you don't evolve, if you do not, adapt to new technologies, you will be left behind. Like, that's the truth. Like, you will be left behind because everyone else will be operating on a different system, on a different threshold. So I love that you said that. When it comes to what how can someone, if they do want to accelerate their growth, where paths they can choose, or where places or resources they can go to elevate their learning?
For sure. It's almost impossible to keep up with everything. You're not going to know every aspect of the industry and every piece of technology that's out there. But depending on how it affects your personal development, your career development, So as you're trying to advance in your career, like you're not gonna know the impact of every single piece of security technology that's out there.
Right.
Like it's good to have a general understanding, but the technical stuff, like if you're an integrator, that's the kind of stuff you got to stay up on. If you're frontline or if you're in security management, you have to understand how it works, but you're not going to know all the technical ins and outs of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is changing the industry, sort of in some ways that we're not going to understand for a few years. Like you mentioned, like ChatGPT and things like that. Like what that's going to do to the security industry, I don't think we know quite yet. There's a
Right.
lot of industries that will be affected by this kind of technology.
Yes.
And they're still trying to digest about how it will impact them in the long term. AI is affecting how we deploy security and how we install security and how we understand security. It's also, is your security deployed in the cloud or is it on a
Yeah.
server in your building? And in a lot of cases, it's both. The way that security is understood as a framework and as a technology is changing. Ultimately, it's there to help security, right?
Okay.
So if you have a camera with some sort of AI intelligence deployed on it, it's designed to help you do your job better. So
Okay.
they'll be looking for intrusion alarms are becoming much smarter these days, right?
Yes.
So ultimately, you're going to get fewer false alarms, and the technology will recognize, oh, that's an intruder or that's an employee. This person is yelling. Are they yelling because they're upset, or are they yelling at another person? Like the technology understanding is getting so advanced that they will know if somebody has a raised voice, whether they're potentially a threat or not.
Yeah, and that's the advancement, right?
Sure. And
Wow.
they'll notify the operator, hey, we've got this situation here. You might want to check it out.
Okay.
So yeah, the technology is getting more and more advanced every year. Like every year I go to a different trade show, I'll see that incremental
I actually got to check
leveling up.
I got to check some of these out, especially.
for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Let me ask you this: you've seen a lot in the last 15 years. You've written a lot. Edited all these things, and you see the whole picture. What is something that stands out to you? That was something that, man, this was probably one of the most interesting pieces that I had to be involved with. Something that sticks out to you. Anything come to mind?
Something that sticks out. I've been privileged to get speak to people that have senior positions that work in sensitive security environments, and it's great that they're willing to share their knowledge. You would think that somebody who's in charge of a critical infrastructure or an airport or something like that, but those people are also willing to share their knowledge and to let you know how they their best practices.
Okay.
So I've through our Security Director of the Year program, which has been running for longer than I've been at the publication,
Okay.
so 15 plus years.
Wow.
I've met some fascinating folks through that. It's a very competitive process to ultimately get to a winner for that. But I've met some fascinating people through that process. People who've worked for cities or airports or banks, and it's interesting to see the commonalities and also the differences that exist between those things.
Yeah.
Some of these people have common pain points, and other things are so specific that it's something that's very specific to their industry.
Okay.
But it's, again, like going back to how we started off, it's the people that make this job fascinating.
That's
for
right.
me. I love reading and writing about the technology, but ultimately it's the people that it affects, either the people that are using it or deploying it or it's protecting. Like that's what keeps the security industry
Yeah.
interesting to me.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's awesome. I love that. Look, I want to really thank you, Neil, for coming down today and sharing this. I'm hoping that a lot of people listening that maybe are in the industry, maybe this will elevate them to kind of pursue more and create opportunities for themselves. Maybe it's for those listening that are already very senior in their positions that can, hey, maybe I want to take on that mentor hat. You know what I mean? And for those maybe looking to getting into the industry, it's on the surface, if your views on security are what we discussed earlier on, there's way more to it, right? So I want to thank you for coming down here. Is there anything that you can say as we close for another event that's coming down the road that you guys are putting on that people can jump into? And also, how do we find you? I know you mentioned at the beginning, but if we can say it again, how do we find all this information for someone to kind of dive deeper?
Sure. So we have 3 websites, CanadianSecurityMag.com, sptnews.ca, and securityquebec.ca. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm there a lot.
Okay.
Reach out to me, message me. I'm happy to chat through that. What else? We have a Women in Security coming up on Women in Security conference coming up on May 17th. I'm not sure when this will air.
Okay.
But hopefully before then.
It will.
Good.
Yes.
So we're always looking for people to attend that. We've got a great lineup of speakers. I've been privileged to work on some of these events and have some great speakers who volunteer their time to join us.
It's for women only.
No, it's not for women only.
Oh.
It's about women in security, but everybody is welcome to attend for sure.
Good.
Let me think. In the fall, we'll have our Canadian Security Honors event, which will be in October, and then in December, we'll have our Focus on Healthcare Security event. And again in October, we are hosting our Career Expo in Calgary.
Yes, I heard about that.
Yes.
Amazing. First time you guys are going down.
First time out of the GTA. So yeah, we've been in the GTA for, I think it's 10 plus years now, and it's an event that's grown year on year. We get amazing support. We're very grateful for all the support. And so we think we can try in another city. We've had some amazing supporters come from Calgary to attend our event in Toronto.
I know you have the Calgary Police Department
Yep.
already signed on board for this, which is amazing.
Yeah, we appreciate their support.
Yes.
So we're going to go to them this time.
Okay.
So stay tuned to our website. We'll be publicizing this and sending out as much information as we can. But it's been a great success for us in Toronto, so we're hoping to repeat that success in Calgary.
Amazing. Such exciting things. Look, this industry is exciting, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm so happy that you've come down here today, Neil, to kind of share this. You will definitely put all these links up and push this out. And for anyone out there that does want more information, please do reach out to Neil. Reach out to the show. We'd be more than happy to guide you. And let's just keep elevating the industry and demanding excellence.
For sure. No, and thank you very much, Constantine, for the invitation. Really appreciate it, and it was a real pleasure to chat with you today.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And it's Friday today. Let's go and enjoy the weekend.
For sure. It's some great weather out there.
Absolutely. Have a great one. Thank you so much, Neil.
Thank you.
Take care.
This podcast is brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle Canada. Make sure to drop by next week and don't forget to subscribe.